watching a master at work.
Yes. Welcome. Thank you. Oh no, you're too kind. Thank you. Hey. What it is, what it was, and what it shall be. What's happening, people? Welcome to another episode, Hidden Figures, Behind the Numbers with the Restaurant Scientist. I am Jason Wallace. I am the scientist. And when you hear them say you're watching a master at work, they are referring to me. I want to thank my sponsors, Cornerstone Business Labs, Cornerstone Productions, and Cornerstone Media for funding this show. Without them, none of this would be possible. And without any further ado, I want to introduce to you my friend, colleague, just have utmost respect for her, alumni, CIA alumni, Miss Chef Tia McDonald. Yay! So, before I turn it over to Tia, let me just give you guys that's a snippet of really who you're talking about here. She makes me nervous. Imagine that, right? I don't bow down to many people in this country. But Tia makes me nervous because she is bad. She's the truth at what she does. Clearly, she's a CIA grad. She currently serves as culinary director of programs for Eleanor North America, right? Let me just give you a little snippet of what she's done. In New York City, she worked at Oceana and Gramercy Tavern. In Philadelphia, she worked with Chef Mark Vetri. She was the senior executive chef at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, China. Oh, let me say that again. Y'all hear that? She was the executive chef at the 2008 Olympics. So she's done developmental programs for Aramark K through 12 and director of culinary operations for many K through 12 programs. She's bad. Tia.
Hello, my friend.
What's happening? How are you?
What's going on? I'm good. The Grits Collective right here.
Absolutely. Man, oh man. I'm so excited about today's show because one, people really need to know who you are and how tremendous of a chef, of a person, an intellectual individual you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
That.
Nah, no doubt. It's the truth. So tell my listeners who you are.
Okay. Well, to start, my name's Tia McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in the food industry, just like everybody else, started in the dish sink.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my mid-teens. I started cooking, however, when I was probably around 7 or 8 with my mother and my grandmother.
Okay.
My family, tell you a little bit about, I grew up in Connecticut. My mother was raised in New York. Her family moved from Alabama during the Great Migration during the mid-50s. So coming up, I grew up in Connecticut and learned some of the traditional cooking styles of Southern cuisine when I was young, and learning how to make classic dishes that I ultimately learned when I went to the CIA. So a lot of food history in my life and throughout my career, and been in the industry about 30 years now.
Okay. So after the CIA, where did you start? What was your opinion of where you thought you were going versus when you actually got into the industry, reality kind of set in, and how was that?
So first, I went to do an apprenticeship with a German chef prior to going to the CIA.
Okay.
Thinking that, you had to have all these years of experience to go to culinary school.
Right.
So worked, did an apprenticeship. Then I ended up working at a hotel. And that's where I thought I was going to end up, was going to go into hotels. I was really always attracted to, the multiple aspects of business at a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Once I went to the CIA, there was a whole different world that opened up to me.
Okay.
And then I went into fine dining.
Mm-hmm.
So after graduation, I went and worked at Oceana restaurant which is now a Michelin star restaurant in New York City. Worked for free at Gramercy Tavern. Did a number of different, had a number of experiences during school that I was like, okay, this is the track I want to go on, particularly because I didn't see many women who looked like me.
Right.
You just did, and definitely in the mid 80s and 90s, you did not.
Right.
So I was like, I want to be that pioneer and go into the fine dining world, and
Absolutely.
then, realize the hustle that, went into it. It was like, okay, it's definitely a life. It's definitely,
Right.
and, I love it, but I started finding other avenues.
Got it.
So from there, I went into contract food service.
Okay.
Aramark for a number of years. Started out in higher education and running a number of different colleges and universities as a chef, and then had the opportunity to work at the Olympics in 2008 in Beijing, China.
Wow. What was that like?
Oh my gosh. So I loved China. Oh my God. I stayed there for about 6 months.
Okay.
Loved the food, loved the people. I had some amazing experiences and some amazing eye-opening understandings of, coming into a country where I can't speak the language. I can't read. I can't
Right.
verbally communicate with people.
Right.
And understanding why some of the things that they did, and understanding how the media portrays things.
Got you.
When you're outside of a country and when you're in, and it makes you humble to go to other countries and travel.
Absolutely.
So the location that I ran, we fed about 14,000 people a day.
14,000 a day.
A day.
Wow.
During the peak of the games, there was about 14,000 people a day, and about 17 to 18 chefs and 250 line cooks and sous chefs and so on reported to me during that time.
Wow.
Once I go ahead.
I was going to say, let's unpack that a little bit. What was that like? Obviously, you being black and then being a female, like, they was like, are you really the chef? Like, did you get any of that?
I actually got more of it from the American chefs than I did from the chefs that were from China.
Right. Wow.
There's some. America is very entrepreneurial, right? Like we like to, we get our hands in the dirt, and I'm not saying they don't in China, but there's definitely a hierarchical society there.
Gotcha.
That if I have a good relationship with the person who's at the top of the food chain, others will get along with me as well.
Right.
So I didn't have that many because I came in and made good relationships with people. I was humble.
Okay.
I followed. I listened, which you have to do as a good leader, regardless.
Right.
But I will tell you, I got more resistance from the American chefs than I did anybody who was there.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you come back to the United States, and explain to my listeners a little bit about contract feeding. What is that like, and what are some of the skill sets and job requirements that are different in that than that wheelhouse versus fine dining or
Right.
or independent restaurants?
Yeah, there's food is food, right? So we all are in the business, in the service business, when we want to provide an experience for people. In the environment of contract food service, you can have a number of different segments, and you look at it from, we used to, when I worked for Aramark, from birth to death. So
Okay.
hotel, when you're born, hospital, right? And
Right.
then you go through school. So there's school lunch programs. You go to college, so you feed higher education and private high schools.
Wow.
You go to work. There's business dining. You go to, you go to a sporting event. There's sports and dining. You end up, going to jail for insider trading. You're gonna, they do corrections, and then if you get sick, there are hospitals and long-term care facilities. And most of the contract food services provide services in a number and all of these locations where people have life experiences and need to eat.
Wow. I never thought about it in that sense, but that's absolutely the best analogy I've ever heard of it.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? Like you think of it like, every single, outside of the traditional dining experience of let's go to a restaurant.
Right.
It's those life experiences. So there are companies who manage these operations, and it can be based upon, whether it's a school, a corporation. So Citibank may partner with one of these companies, and in their business dining, you'll have an entire contract for that particular business, or school district, that you will provide the food services and or manage the employees that either are the location's employees or the corporations.
Gotcha.
The skill set I would say that's different from working in fine dining is your financial acumen. It has to be, that is as precious a commodity in an individual as in the fine dining world, knowing how to break down a pig.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
I as a chef, I'm not able to walk into a meeting and say, I don't know why my food cost is off. Right. You have to be able to pinpoint whether it's, marketing, the market, the fluctuations that happen in the market, waste. Right. You had to train new employees, and they burnt a bunch of food.
Right.
You had to give away a catering to a client because you were late on one before. Right. That you have to know your numbers. You have to know your historics. You have to know where you're going and explain why you didn't get to where you did or you did. Whereas in fine dining, it's a sole proprietorship many times.
Right. You don't even see. You might not see it.
The perceived value is.
In a fine dining establishment, the chef may never even see the profit and loss statement.
He might not even care. Yeah. He might not know how to read it.
Which is what I was going to ask you. Like, where did you acquire the ability to, because now you get me excited when you talk about, chef spreadsheet over here,
I know, a spreadsheet show. I got that nickname, and when I worked for, we'll tell the story a little bit, for Mark Vetri, that was my nickname, was Chef Spreadsheets.
So, how did you?
And I gave it to you.
Yes. Yeah. How did you acquire that? I mean, that skill set. Was there preparation? I mean, obviously, like I said, you're extremely intelligent. But where did you learn the numbers? Where did you learn how to read an income statement and be able to go into a room that I would imagine was a male-dominated room and hold your own when it comes to justifying profit and loss, expenses, costs, percentages?
So the experiences came from when I worked at Aramark. Okay. But I will tell you, and looking back at what in my mid-teens, the career path that I was considering, it was be a chef. I also thought about going to Juilliard and playing the flute for the New York Philharmonic. That I have a whole music history story to my family. So music is very important, but I also was interested in becoming an accountant. Okay. Like I've always had a real fascination with numbers. Like I can remember, a string of somewhere of 7 to 9 numbers. Gotcha. If it's repeated to me. So I've always just had an interest in numbers and basic math and accounting. Right. So when it was time to learn that stuff, it was like, okay, that's cool. I've always looked at, even from when I was young and going to my career, I never wanted to just be in the kitchen and not know how the rest of the restaurant runs. Right. Like I wanted to know the full, how does everything, everywhere I worked, I worked as a server or a bartender or a cook. Right. Because I wanted to know what those experiences were like. So then when I went to go work for Mark, it became very clear that the skill set that I had, that I could run a kitchen, train employees, cook, expedite, and understand, and be able to talk about the numbers at the same time and walk in and confidently say, yeah, your food cost is off here because you had X purchases, Y purchases, and Z waste. Right. Gotcha. And it just made, it makes you a better educated business person to understand where those numbers. Got you. And how to manipulate them.
Okay. So walk us through a day in your life. Let's take a pre-COVID, when you were in North America, your territory, you're responsible for all of North America. So you're talking K
Correct.
through 12. So
Correct.
walk us through, my listeners, because one of the things we also try to do on this show is, that next generation of food service professionals are maybe watching these shows and looking at you and looking at me and say, wow, I could see myself doing that. But they don't understand what the job title is, what it implies, what's the expectations on a daily basis. So, part of my show is I do like to go into the numbers and the behind the scenes aspects of really letting our listeners understand what a day looks like in your life. And let's take a pre-COVID scenario.
Okay, so to talk about my current role, I am the director of culinary for K-12 by Elior, which their parent company is Elior North America.
Okay.
My job is of all the different segments that I mentioned earlier through contract food service. I am the face and the strategic driver of culinary programs for our K-12 division. Focused a lot on National School Lunch Program, which is a lot of underserved communities throughout the country, and we serve somewhere upwards of 200,000 students a day.
Wow!
So driving the strategic vision into implementation through my expertise and all the other collaborators that I work with to deliver a package of at the end of the day of serving meals that students will not only just take but enjoy.
Right.
No matter what your income level is or what your economic background is.
Okay. Prior
to COVID, I was on a plane every Monday, flying home on Friday.
Wow.
I was somewhere.
Yeah.
I was, I'm going to Mississippi this week. I'm going to Boston. I'm going to Chicago. Because we're in, I want to say 20 states.
Wow.
And, whether it's existing accounts, new accounts,
right.
Potential accounts,
right.
Being a representative of our corporation with trade association, trade groups. And so I'm just never home.
Right.
But my job is designed to be 100% remote,
Gotcha.
To, go into different locations. So I'm always somewhere or nowhere. I could be at home also.
Right.
The last time I flew for my job was March 13th, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I flew home from Chicago.
Okay.
And was told there is everybody, just like everybody else, had to stay home.
Right.
So it became my role, whether or not we have a COVID, my role is still remote. So It really depends on the world as to whether or not I continue traveling.
Right.
I am extremely fortunate that I happen to have a role such as this that, through all of the challenges that we went through in employment. And if you look through the statistics of, 2020, the unemployment rate for Black women was somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50%. Wow. So you never mind, the service industry, right? Never mind kids aren't going to school. Right. Never, for me, I was like, I'm really, really fortunate that I've had, from a professional and a financial level, no impact, to me, and I'm fortunate that, and I can stay home.
Yeah.
So because my job is strategic and it is so focused on designing a vision and how to put that into motion, I, went full scale home office.
Right. Right.
And spent the remaining 9 months of the year focus on fitness and making sure I'm building routines. But it became the job became real interesting in July when no school district was doing the exact same thing.
Wow. Yeah.
So it became how do we fulfill service for the unknown.
Right.
Schools didn't know if they were, there was in-person learning.
Right.
There's hybrid. Right. There's, 100% remote. And if you think about the community that we're serving, where, the free and reduced is somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70%, that means people can't afford to feed their kids, right? They're sending their children to go to school because they need to eat. So you still have to serve, so we had to figure out how to serve students in a code, which was a moving target every day. Right.
Wow. That's very impressive. I was one of those free lunch kids too, growing up.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. Shout out to all the free lunch kids.
It's free lunch. It's come a long way, let me tell you.
Yeah. No doubt. Especially when you start talking about how important or what kind of impact does nutrition play in your job on a daily basis?
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge in my job. It's huge in my life. It's I'm sorry, I'm just taking me for a second. Making sure that our next generation kids understand, one, where their food comes from.
Yeah.
That you can have affordable, accessible food. That food deserts are real.
Yeah.
You give a kid $1 in the morning and, he can either eat the breakfast at school or, grab a chug and a bag of chips. That's our competition in a lot of the places that we serve is the bodega.
Right. Yeah.
That's our competition.
Yep.
So as we are seeing nutrition and the effects of processed food and sedentary lifestyles with our generation and the generation before us and the generation after us, and people not outliving their parents due to health issues, and definitely within the Black community, some of the health issues that we commonly run into. It is extremely important to make sure that kids know that you can eat good food that tastes good, that is affordable, is going to take them into that sea change that needs to happen as far as nutrition in this country.
Right, absolutely. Excuse me. So let's what's the future hold for Chef Tia McDonald? Where you I know it 2021 and COVID's got us all in this kind of wait and see kind of mode, but where are you going with your career and your passion and your advocacy for our industry, and as you say, knowing where our food comes from, and health and nutrition and wellness, mental health and physical health?
I'm trying to think what when we were I called it the Grits Collective and the disrupt. Like, I'm a disruptor. I love change. I love I've morphed in so many different directions since I was that dishwasher at a Friendly's restaurant, some 30 something years ago.
Right.
I see myself developing different platforms that are really focused on our community from food education to health, having healthy lifestyles, and having a healthy lifestyle doesn't mean you don't have a glass of wine every once in a while. It's, it's understanding the balance of, all the things that we have accessibility to.
Right.
And don't, and making sure they're accessible, but that they're affordable, that we're doing it in moderation, that we're doing it thoughtfully, and making sure that we're including everyone, and certainly wanting to be one of the voices of the Black women chef community, that we've been here, we've been cooking.
Right.
We've been here. And, if you look at that New York Times article that came out a couple days ago, it all of those things are true.
Right.
All of those, and I can't tell you how many times the door closed in my face, just someone just looking at me and saying, oh, you can't, she can't cook.
Right.
Like,
Right.
bitch, please. Like,
Exactly. And for my listeners that don't know, the New York Times dropped an article a few days ago saying how fine dining has really been unfair to black female chefs. And
It's true.
something that we already knew. We've been knowing that for 30 plus years, but it was a fairly decent article. But as Tia is saying, it's they've been here, and like I said, even when I came out of culinary school, the baddest chef I knew was Chef Jacqueline Chumley, who was also on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and you go back to Leah Chase and Edna Lewis and Miss Sylvia Woods and many more. Jacqueline Frazier.
Right.
Again, I don't want to start dropping certain names because I won't forget anybody else, but female black chefs have been around, and they're here to stay, and they need to be recognized. So what's the future for black female chefs in the next generation of female? Like, what would you like to see happen, and what are some of the initiatives we're going to do together that I don't know about?
That we're going to do together,
that you haven't told me yet about, that you already have on the agenda, but you're just going to let me know when you want me to know.
Yeah, exactly, right? So one thing that I have coming up that I meant to actually tell you, it kind of morphed very recently. Me being a member of Les Dames Escoffier, the Philadelphia chapter.
Yeah, you got to explain what does that mean, Chef? You're speaking French, literally.
There she go.
There she go.
There she go. There she go.
Bring it down. Bring it down. Bring it down.
Les Dames Escoffier is a women's chef organization that was started by a child.
Right, hold on. You're breaking up. Your signal broke up a little bit there.
Okay.
That wasn't you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yep. Go back to Escoffier.
Les Dames Escoffier is a women's chef organization that was started by Julia Child.
Okay.
There are a number of chapters across the world. I am a member of the Philadelphia chapter.
Okay.
And there is a 3-day symposium that is being held in the next there's dates to be determined. And the conversation is about Philly soul food, right?
Gotcha.
So we started the conversation, and my first question was, Philly is not known for soul food, right? Like, we're known for music. We're known for, comedy.
Right.
We're known for, sports and Ivy League. Soul food's not one of the things that it's known for.
Cheesesteaks, right?
Cheesesteaks, right. That's what Philly's known for, is cheesesteaks.
Right.
So there's 3 days talking about the past, present, and future. So the past being, we're not really known for it.
Right.
The present is talking about what is happening in the industry in Philadelphia as far as soul food, and the future, which is partly my segment. And we're going to talk about urban farming and bringing back the connection to food.
Gotcha.
What I would like to see and what I hope to see is not necessarily, yes, having more Black women run fine dining establishments that are game changing, and like, would I like to see a Black woman at French Laundry? Yeah, shit, yeah.
Right.
I'd love to. One of my best friends was one of the first women who worked there, and she's I believe Lebanese, and she told me the only reason I hired there was because they thought her name a male name.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
Right. So I would like to see that, but I also would like to see more attention and more media and more buzz about game changers of women, Black women, who are doing our food is good. Our food is banging.
Right.
Our food is bomb. Like,
Absolutely.
There's no reason why, we're not in Saveur or Food and Wine in our own element.
Right. Absolutely.
We can break the mold
Right.
But how about the mold just get broken?
Right.
Like, just stop thinking that, if it's not on Fifth Avenue, it's not a reputable restaurant. Like,
Right.
go to Harlem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Go
right.
to Harlem.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No,
absolutely. We've been pounding this drum for 35 years about this same thing. We formed the Black Culinary Alliance and, all the things that we were doing pre-Food Network. So, there's a lot of work for us to still do, a lot of advocacy work and, creating our own outlets. So whatever you need me to do, obviously, I'm down with that.
Yeah, right back at you.
So talk to me about Tia, like not the chef Tia, but Tia, the little black girl, who's now a black woman. And
One who's always laughing.
Oh man, hilarious, hilarious energy. Just tie it all together. So that if you had to inspire the next generation of Tia McDonalds, what would you now tell young Tia about life in America as a black girl, black woman?
If there was anything I could tell Tia, that I would let other people know.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Don't.
Go home.
This girl is so funny.
Go home. Just go home.
Right.
If there was anything that I could tell young Tia is, can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely. This is just us. Nobody's
thank
here.
you. Oh my God, I've been
just
dying.
me, you, and the engineers.
Fuck what other people think.
Right.
That's what I would tell young, that when you're younger, especially in some of the environments that I have worked. Like I came up, I was raised in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 black families in my town of 30,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, there's that. You're a 12, 13, 14-year-old girl, wonder, do I fit in? Do I this? And then I go to work, go to the Culinary Institute of America, class of 70. I'm the one black woman in my savory graduating class.
Right.
Went into a white male-dominated field. And then, in many instances, have worked in corporations where nobody looks like me.
Right.
I worked for Urban Outfitters for a few years, and not a lot of people look like me.
Right.
And yeah, all the stories are true.
Right.
So
right.
I've had these experiences where I am the singular black woman, or the only woman sometimes.
Right.
Just that alone.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a lot of confidence challengers that come in these environments.
Gotcha.
That now I've kind of gotten to the point and like, what, I'm me.
Right.
I'm all the things I call, black hippie. I'm Black Laura Ingalls. Like, I have all these names for myself of,
right.
who I am, and I'm comfortable with all those things. Like,
right.
and add at the same time. And, I'm here on a farm now, with a wheelbarrow feeding pigs, and, that, it's okay to be comfortable in your own skin, even when you're not comfortable in your own skin. Like,
Got it.
Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Let yourself shine through, and don't worry about what other people think, because
right.
1, they're worried about what you think, and
right.
2, that's what's going to bring out your shine, and what makes a difference in who you are.
Absolutely.
Is being comfortable with yourself.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I knew this was going to be a great show. Didn't I tell you, Marv? She's bad. She's bad.
You are watching a master at work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, you know, when you're hanging out with the master, you know, it's easy to, you know.
Nah, man, you know. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Oh, Twitter, I am Chef Tia MCD. Instagram, Tia Choco Bear. You can also reach me on Facebook. I don't know if I should give out my email address, but you know, through social media, you should be able to find me.
Good, cool. So as we wind down, any last departing, anything we didn't cover that you want to cover? Anything you want to get out there?
Yeah.
We have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, so I'll tell you about one of my businesses that I started 2 years ago, about 2 years ago. The name of the company is Zazou Teas. That's Z-A-Z-O-U.
Okay.
And what it is,
Z-A-Z-O-U.
Z-A-Z-O-U.
Okay.
And they are what I'm calling a functional beverage.
Okay.
They're teas that I make myself, and the focus is using all natural and anti-inflammatory ingredients.
Wow.
So yeah. And I currently have 3 flavors. That's an unsweetened ginger green tea, a hibiscus ginger, and turmeric tink that I also make, which is made with fresh turmeric, apple cider vinegar, agave is my sweetener, a little bit of cayenne, and fresh lemon juice.
Wow, that sounds delicious.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to make. You know what? When I'm back up there, I'll make sure you get over.
Now I'm allergic to caffeine, so I need a caffeine-free version of it if it's possible.
Okay.
Are they available for sale now, or are you still manufacturing, or where are you with the distribution of them?
I'm currently it's still small. I'm selling out of Philadelphia, so I have a couple locations, and also doing some direct sell.
Okay.
So I am those. Zazou is also on Instagram and Facebook.
Spell it again so the listeners can find it.
Z-A-Z-O-U.
Z-A-Z-O-U. Marv, when we put it up. Z-A-Z-O-U. Zazou Teas.
Yep. So the name comes from it originally, again going back to music, was one of the scat terms during, from Cab Calloway days, when they start scatting. It was then adapted as the name of a bohemian group during the World War II that was kind of counterculture.
Okay.
They did not want to conform to, what the Vichy regime was mandating for society during the war, and trying to maintain some conservativeness, and they were not conservative people, which is a good reflection of who I am. But I really took to the name that it was like, it represents me. It's music. It's zippy. It's non-traditional. I am not a traditional person, and have not had a very traditional career.
Right.
That it just really kind of reflected me.
Got you.
And the beverage started with the premise of using anti-inflammatory ingredients. As I was going through some arthritis issues.
Okay.
Somewhere about 10, 11 years ago, I was 70 to 80 pounds heavier than I am, and had a lot of inflammation in my body. Mm-hmm. And I, went to my doctor and got cortisone shots and got this pill and that pill and da-da-da. And, I'm just not, I think that traditional medicine has its place.
Right.
And there are benefits to Western medicine. Right. But it's not the end all for me.
Yeah.
So started looking for different things to do to alleviate the inflammation. So cutting sugar out of my diet, starting to do yoga and exercising more and moving my body more, because that's body emotion
right
stays in motion.
Right.
and moving your joint that helps alleviate it.
Right.
And at that time, that's when I started my journey personally and professionally through a culinary career of nutritional eating and thoughtful eating, you know, food that helps reduce inflammation.
Right.
So I was like, okay, this is great. It's helping. I'm eating more ginger. I'm doing turmeric. I'm, all the things. And then, I decided, I was like, well, there's got to be another way to get it, ingest it. And I love green tea. Like I've always loved green tea. So I was like, all right, well, how about I throw some ginger in my green tea?
Right.
And, it's like, oh, this is good. I'm sure somebody makes it already, already on the shelves, and it wasn't.
It wasn't,
so
right.
It's like opportunity,
Something else I got to do. Wow, that's fabulous. Yeah, because that's a vicious cycle, that whole inflammation, joint pain, and then, you're not mobile because you're inflamed. And then, but if you don't get rid of the inflammation, then you can't become mobile because the pain is still there. So,
That's right. It's a terrible cycle.
That's a vicious
terrible
cycle.
cycle.
Yeah. So I commend you for that.
And a lot of
as
it
well.
can be remedied through what we eat.
Yeah, man. They used to do it. They used to scat. Absolutely. They were like the original rappers, probably.
You know what? That was back when music was good. You remember that song OG Peanut Butter I sent you the other day?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You got to send me that other one too that we was listening
to. That's my jam.
Oh my goodness. I loved it.
I know.
Well, Tia, it's been truly a pleasure, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and, coming to talk to me and coming on the show. I want people to, again, know who you are, know who we are, know what we've been doing, and know where we're going with our advocacy work for blacks in food service. So if there's any last things you want to say to me or my guests, my podcast listeners.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
My new brother. We're making a new family, the Grits Collective, where it's happening. 2021 has, I think is going to be. I'm not, I wish everyone a loving and thoughtful 2021.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
That's what I wish for. Just more love, more thoughtfulness.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, that ends this episode. A wonderful, wonderful episode. I want to thank my business partners, Cornerstone Business Labs, Cornerstone Production, and Cornerstone Media. And again, I want to thank Chef Tia McDonald.
Thank you.
Power to the people.
Power.